Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of the Shooters Lounge podcast. I'm Matt at Post Up 323. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, on YouTube, and also follow us on the podcast and also on the socials at Shooters Lounge 3. Today, we're going to be talking Boston Celtics, and we have a returning guest. I think it's his third time now on the Shooters Lounge podcast. He come on when Celtics won the title. Some would say he only comes on when they're winning. They're still winning, so he's coming back on anyway. So we've got Rob. Welcome back to the Shooters Lounge, bro.
Jesus, not even 45 seconds in and already been called a Glory Hunter supporter. Oh, this is going to be a long day. That's all good, man. Thank you for having me back. I know I reached out to you to get back on, but you still got to approve it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, mate. No problem. It's a pleasure having you on, bro. I think I think you're the first maybe guest who's been on 3 times, bro. So you're the first one.
Setting the record.
Yeah, man.
Go.
if you come on 5 times, mate, then I don't know. You might get a Shooters Lounge mug or something. I don't know.
start building your own plaque. Like,
yeah,
Shooters Lounge guest is like just Rob Rush, like 17 times. Like, this guy's on a lot.
Yeah, I need a tally chart. I need to get a tally chart going, I think, bro. But anyway, bro, how was your summer? How did you bask in the Celtics glory? Last time you were on, obviously.
Oh, you know I did, man. You know I did. Like, it was just such all the euphoria and everything. Like, you know, being a Celtics fan since kind of Tatum and Brown had been in the league, and you hear all the media supports, not only from the national media, but Boston media. You know, everyone's there like, they can't win, you got to trade them. And the team goes through so many iterations, and you get so close. Like, you get to the finals in 22, and then Steph Curry does Steph Curry things, which you can't be too mad at. You know, your head coach gets suspended. Like, there's some turnover for the 23 season. You're down 3-0 in the conference finals to Miami. You somehow force a game 7 and were probably favourites to win it until Tatum hurts himself on the first play of the damn game, you know, and then you swing some big trades. You say goodbye to Marcus Smart, like, you know, it's the heart and soul of the franchise. You know, the Porzingis, you trade Rob Williams, another fan favourite, for Drew Holiday, you know, and then you realise that somehow you've got the best team at shooting threes in the league and no one can stop you. And it's like, this is fun basketball to watch. And then again, you hear all the criticisms of going through the playoffs of this shooting 3 strategy won't work in the playoffs. Like, you know, it's not going to work. It's too reliant on it. And then you go 16-3 and you have to listen to everyone shut up over something that's great. It was great. And then, you know, you come back in this year, you know, guys have inked extensions, like Drew Holiday inked an extension at the back end of last year. Derek White's inked an extension. Jason Tatum signed an extension. Porzingis signed an extension when he could early last season. Like, you know, we're all set. Everyone's all good. We just need to sort out Al Horford. Al Horford's contract's up at the end of this year. We just need to sort him out on a veteran minimum for next season. And then we're all good. But it's been fun. And I think the thing for me is it's been... the seasons where he didn't win a title, I would watch and I'd be stressed. I'd be there like, oh, we need to win this game. We need to win this game. Otherwise, we're not going to win the title. And then after you win the title, you can watch games and be there like, oh, we're on the wrong end of a 16-4 run or whatever. It's like, it's fine. Like, it's chill. Oh, we've lost tonight. Okay, well, championships are won in June, not in November or whenever it is. Like, it's fine. It's chill. So yeah, they've definitely been basking in all the glory and just enjoying basketball more since. It's been great.
Nice. The pressure's kind of released now, bro, isn't it? I think maybe when you win one, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, it's okay now. You know, we've won one, and
that first one, the pressure definitely goes. But we know, I know with how it is around the Celtics is always just going to switch to right. So how many more are Tatum and Brown going to win? You know, and then that's where the media narrative will start spinning. Is like, you know. Everyone's there like, well, Steph won 4, LeBron's won 4, Kobe won 6, like, or 5, like MJ won 6, like, you know, everyone's kind of going to start going like, how are they going? Is there like Boston? Well, they got one. They ended a 16-year drought to get a banner back to Boston. Like, they're Celtics legends. Like they're going to get their jerseys are going up in the rafters when they're done. Like you know, we can now just enjoy them for providing as much entertainment as they have done. It's great.
Absolutely. Like you say, you made big moves, didn't you, before the start of last season? I don't think there's any regrets on how it turned out, bro. It's pretty safe to say.
No, those are ones where like you swing for the hill, and if you miss, it's looking a very different picture. But
absolutely.
Fair play to the front office, fair play to the coaching staff for getting it all working out. Fair play to the players as well. Like I think Tatum's mentioned it so many times. Everyone who'd had their individual success in terms of like all NBA. Drew Holiday was obviously a champion with Milwaukee before he came. Like everyone had their individual success. Everyone had got paid on their first contract after their rookie deal. Brown had just signed his second contract. Like Tatum was obviously going to get his. Everyone was just kind of ready to sacrifice everything, and whether for Brown that's shots, for Tatum it was his chance at an MVP, for KP it was like in terms of games played, missing back-to-backs to obviously help out with his injury issues. Drew Holiday was definitely not taking as many shots, not running the show as a point guard, kind of being that secondary creator, but everyone was ready to sacrifice in order to go win a title, and that's what I think that's what led more into, that's how special it was as a team to see them get over the line, is that what the sacrifice had been to get all together. And everyone can complain that it's a super team and whatnot. It's they're like, well, why doesn't your front office build one?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, that's the answer, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's something that I was talking about with a mate the other day, is that people go, well, how can they trade for Kristaps Porzingis? How can they trade for Drew Holiday? Because we had drafted players that had gone on to a first contract, which means you can go over the cap to re-sign them, which then because of the NBA salary cap, makes it easier to like move players and then trade for them. So everyone, you've got the trade rumors out right now that Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami and everything. Like, obviously the new CBA is in place, which is really screwing that up. But again, Brad Stevens knew the new CBA was coming and therefore decided to make his moves like before it all kicked in. So there's a bit of a lesson in there for every NBA team, that just because your players don't work out after 2-3 years doesn't mean they can't still provide value to you down the line. And I'm not saying that Marcus Smart did not work out after 2-3 years, but he got onto his second contract. He was still a valuable part, and then yes, it hurts every Boston's fan soul to know that he wasn't part of the championship team.
Yeah,
but he set the culture, and ultimately his salary was enough to match with the 3-team deal that got Porzingis to Boston. So it's a bit of a lesson for other GMs that keeping hold of your drafted players. There's a lot to be said in a day where everyone wants immediate success, immediate response from the draft picks. Is that if you actually properly develop them and build them, and they go through all the experiences, and they can help a winning team, there's something to be said for like actually holding on to players.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. What do you think Marcus Smart's thoughts were when the Celtics were winning the title? What do you think he was thinking at that point?
Yeah. I'm not sure we can say that on the podcast.
You can swear on here, bro. Don't worry.
I think he did a podcast interview where it's like he was happy. Like, obviously, there's a tinge of sadness because, like, it's literally the first year after you got traded, and again, the American media will spin it like Marcus Smart held the Celtics back, like Drew Holiday was all they needed, like blah blah blah, and it's like, ultimately, he was just happy for his guys that he played with, especially again. The whole narrative around the Jays has been they can't play together, and then the supporting cast isn't being good enough around them. So I think Smart is just overall happy that they managed to silence the narrative of like they can play together. The supporting cast is good enough for them.
Yeah, at least silence them just for a couple of days, at least.
Yeah. Everyone's going to start piping back up at some point about how it's not good. So definitely. It definitely hurts to see he wasn't there, but he was there in spirit, and he's always going to be. They just came back to Boston and won, so he's always going to be like intertwined with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was last season. So now you go from the hunted to being the hunted. Now you're the champs. So how is the season, in your opinion, Rob, been going for the Celtics? Is it we're just carrying on as we go, and we're carrying on from last season, or Are they better than last year?
Yeah, pretty much just keeping on going. Obviously not having Porzingis to start the year hurts quite a bit,
Yeah.
but then he comes back miles ahead of schedule. So you're like, okay, this is a pleasant surprise. I think all the talk had been Christmas and maybe into the new year, and then you get some fans social media going, can we just shut him down till like March or something, like to give him the ultimate time? But he comes back, so you're now working him back into. He's now worked back into the starting five that won the championship. I think not been as dominant this season so far because of the injuries that like KP's missed time, Jaylen Brown's missed, I think, 6 or 7 games due to like a hip injury. So, but the thing is, I say that we're 19-5, second in the East behind Cleveland, who are on a phenomenal run at the minute. I think everyone who watched the Celtics last year and stuff would say that we've still not played our best basketball yet, and that's the worrying thing. That's the worrying thing. Like, we're 19-5, like a 1.5 games back, and we still haven't played our best basketball. Like. It's definitely like I said right at the start. I think it's nice to now go through a season of like you can now more like enjoy the process of watching a team develop and stuff. And it's something we'll get onto towards the end. I'm pretty sure that the amount of 3-point attempts is going to keep getting brought up with this team, but. It's Joe Mazzulla would just say simple maths. Like, threes are worth more than twos. Like, you take more threes. And I think what people again don't like. People go, "Oh, it's ruining basketball" and all this sort of stuff. You watch the Warriors do this. You weren't complaining then because it was Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson doing it. Like, because you liked those players. Like, and it's just the way. It's a league-wide trend. Just because the Celtics have won a championship doing it, and it's it's more like the roster construction as well. It's like, yes, we have 8 guys. 8 out of our top 9 can shoot threes at a high clip. So why wouldn't we shoot threes at a high clip? Like,
almost as if you meant it.
Like, you've got Drew Holiday, who last year was like a 40% 3-point shooter. Derek White, who this year could be a 40% 3-point shooter. Kristaps Porzingis, who can shoot from 35 feet. Like. Al Horford, who's completely rechanged his career from being a post-up player to a spaced-out 5-man. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can do what they want. In terms of they can drive you to the rim or they can beat you on the perimeter. You've got Peyton Pritchard, who Celtics legend, for that half-court shot in Game 5. This is how mad it is. Teams are now actually having to guard Peyton Pritchard at the end of halves and quarters because he gets subbed in. If the ball goes out of bounds with like 2 seconds left, who's getting subbed in. And it's now on a scouting report that you can't let Peyton Pritchard dribble and shoot because he can make big shots. Like, it's I think aesthetically maybe people just aren't happy because it's dominant and they don't like dominance after what happened with the Warriors and stuff. But it's still been a good year so far. We've got a couple of easy games coming up this week. From not making the NBA Cup, so we get rewarded with Detroit and Washington as games. They're like, we're not exactly unhappy at that.
Nice tune-up games, them are, aren't they, mate? I think.
I think it's the main thing is just getting through this year healthy. Just get as it is for every as every team who wants to win a championship, you need some luck to be healthy. So now it's just. KP and Horford are not playing on back-to-back, so normally we stagger them. Tatum and Brown are going to need their rest at some point during the year. Drew Holiday also is going to need to be looked after. But, that's why, again, the draft stories of Peyton Pritchard, late first-round pick, doesn't get a lot of playing time, demands to be traded. Brad Stevens denies it, gives him a contract extension that some people at the time looked an overpay, and now everyone's looking... What? Like, you've got this guy who's got the big cheap until 2029? That's how good our front office is. Sam Hauser coming from an undrafted player to, on a 2-way deal to being bench mob crew and then working his way up into the rotation where he's now a solid 7th man. You got the guys towards the back end of the roster now, like Neemias Queta. Drew Peterson's been getting some burn recently. JD Davis and Jordan Walsh. You know, these guys, for a team that, for every team that's in the tax, you need these second round picks and two-way guys to develop into solid roster players. Because at some point, your team will have to break up, and those guys are going to be needed to fill the void. So, it's kind of, you know, obviously I would love to see Jason Tatum win MVP. He's firmly in the conversation for it, but you know, Shea's putting up some remarkable numbers. Jokic is being absolutely phenomenal for Denver on a Denver team that is not looking as dominant as it has been, and they've got problems in terms of they can't really improve. They don't have a lot of assets to move, so Denver look like they're kind of stuck. You know, but Shea's in this conversation, so you know, Giannis is pulling himself into this conversation with how he's carrying the Bucks. So you know, part of the MVP race again for what seems like the fourth, fifth year in a row. You know, kind of, just want to see the guys get through healthy. The 1 seed would be lovely, but we are in December. Like, you know, that will come later on down the stretch. Let's just get to the playoffs healthy. Let's build the right processes. Let's make sure that, you know, we're playing the right way, we're approaching it the right way throughout the regular season. And then we'll see what the playoffs have come April, May time.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And sometimes when you do get injuries, those kind of players who don't get those minutes are kind of given a bit more playing time, and you're kind of seeing what you've got in terms of like your end of the bench guys, haven't you? Like, I think a lot of difference this year is Pritchard, how much he's come on from last season. And now, you know, people are talking like 6 man of the year stuff with the Pritchard and stuff like that, don't they? So that's something that's probably changed a bit from last year. And Cater as well. I've got a colleague at work who's Portuguese, so he always keeps an eye on the Celtics. So he's like, did you see what Cater did last night? Did you see? I was like, yeah, he got some playing time. He's had a few starts, hasn't he, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like, Peyton Pritchard, I think every Boston fan, again, this is one of those ones, Boston fans know how good Peyton Pritchard is, but not many other people around the league know. So everyone looks and this is like, where the hell has this come from? Where they're like, we've kind of known this has always been there. It's just opportunity. Like, I think his rookie year was his first. It was Brad Stevens last year, and Brad chucked him in straight away. Like, I think him and Aaron Neesmith, who's now with the Pacers, were part of that same draft class. And Pritchard was picked later than Neesmith, and Pritchard got the minutes throughout his rookie year. Neesmith was kind of in and out of the rotation, whereas Pritchard was like a more solid. And then, you know, it was 2020, it was 2022, 2023 when we traded for Malcolm Brogdon. Well, we traded for Malcolm Brogdon. It's like where you've got Derek White, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon are already ahead of him in terms of pure guards. You then throw in Jaylen Brown can play shooting guard, so that takes away even more opportunity for minutes, and Pritchard kind of got forgotten about. But, you know, I think Pritchard's dropped like 92 points in the Pro-Am game. Like, he literally left Summer League one year to go play Pro-Am and dropped 92 points, and was there like, okay, this guy can hoop. And like with Drew Holiday being a bit older, having a very short off season after going to the Olympics, you know, Pritchard's been needed to step up, and he has done. And, you know, we're now getting to the point where Pritchard's in the closing lineup for games over Drew Holiday or Derek White, whoever's got it going. You know, he's a very good defender. He can obviously shoot, and he's turning to more of a primary playmaker, whereas mostly he's been a secondary creator. Now he's actually running the offense, and you listen to all of the main guys talk about him. We see how hard he works. We see how hard he puts in the work in training, and he makes the right calls, and that gives us the confidence to go, you know, if Tatum or Brown are playing, if he's like in the group with all the starters, they go, don't just kick the ball to us. Like, create your own offense. Like, you know, you run the pick and roll, you get us in movement. And then, Cater's been, and again, last year he was on a 2-way deal, so we kind of had to watch how many games he played and how many NBA days he had. But he got converted to a standard deal at the back end of the year. And then, this year you can see, even throughout these first like 25 games, you can see the growth from the very start of the season when he was getting minutes to now. Like, he's definitely improved. We've got Xavier Tillman, who's the ultimate team guy. Like, is not really sulked at his lack of minutes. Like, he's provided good energy whenever he's been on the court. He's always tried his best. So, you know, Luke Cornett, like, these guys, you know, you need those guys at the back end of the bench. And all of these guys had opportunities in the summer to go cash in and go be bigger players elsewhere, and they all came back. So it shows they're happy with the situation. They're happy with the culture that the Celtics have. It's great to see. You know, sometimes I look forward more when we've got guys out the lineup, because then you're looking at oh, who's potentially Mizzou's going to go to, like who's going to get some run tonight, and you're just looking for that improvement because there might be there are going to be games down in the playoffs where a guy gets into foul trouble and you have to sub him out, and then that's when you need someone like say if KP gets into foul trouble quite early on, that's where you're going to need, obviously Al Horford will step off the bench. But that's where you're going to need maybe a Xavier Tillman or a Neemias Cater to drop in as the third big and give you 5 or so minutes while KP's in foul trouble, and you need them to be solid, and you can't drop them in the cold. Like those guys need some runs. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that depth. Obviously the team being up for sale is a bit worrying because we don't know what really the future looks like past this season, because it's very well documented that it's the most expensive roster in the league. It's only going to continue to get more expensive with the new CBA. But I think the thing is, everyone's under contract, everyone's signed up, everyone's locked through. Like Al's the only one, and Al will just get a veteran minimum contract for as long as he wants to play. So in terms of like looking, if you don't, I don't look too far ahead now, but if you are looking ahead, the main core, the top 7 are locked up. Those guys are under contract, so it's a very promising time to be a Celtics fan. But we're just living in the moment, definitely.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. How much do you think the Celtics are going to be purchased for? It's going to be up there as one of the most expensive franchises in it, surely.
I think yesterday. So the Philadelphia Eagles are like, someone's trying to buy a minority stake in them, and they valued the entire franchise at nearly £7 billion.
Yeah,
and it's like I'm trying to think. The Suns went for like just under 5, I think.
Yeah, it's 4 something. Yeah.
And that's like, obviously you've got the WNBA franchise there as well. Like, the Celtics, I think the Boston are trying to get a WNBA franchise like to the city. It's going to be north of 5, and that's why it's not going to be it's not going to be a quick process. Like, there's the added thing. We don't own our arena; it's owned by the Boston Bruins. So, we don't really like make money off our ticket sales and stuff. Like, it all goes to the Bruins. So that's like one of the main things that gets reported on for a new owner is like, are you happy to stay in TD Garden? Do you want to move so you can actually like start making some money back on tickets? Obviously, you've seen the Clippers with their new arena. Like, it could be really swanky, but I think it's definitely going to be northwards of 5. It's definitely not going to be all completely done for a fair few years. And that's why it's going to be difficult with like the roster building for Brad Stevens, because current ownership have gone, spend what you want. Like, they've obviously known in the background they're not going to be here not going to be here to have to pay those ridiculous checks at the back end. Like, I think Tatum getting towards 2030, 2031 is going to be earning on an average 72 a year.
Yeah. They're definitely going to make money on their investment, aren't they, when they sell?
Exactly. Like, they bought the team back early 2000s for under $1 billion, and now they're gonna be making like $5 billion plus on it. And
wow, yeah.
We'll just see what happens. But I definitely think that's why they're looking to do it in a stage. Like, they're not looking. I think the Suns, you were bought out straight away, weren't you?
Well, we unfortunately, our previous owner was kind of forced out with the allegations and stuff with Robert Sarver. So it was a kind of a quick sale, kind of NBA kind of fast tracked it through probably.
Whereas now, there's no coincidence that the Celtics went to go play in Abu Dhabi, and there were a fair few, recognizable Dubai businessmen. And obviously, there's a rule that like foreign entities can only own up to 20% of a team, but that is, if you're talking about if there's rumors that some members of the current ownership group are going to step up and put an offer in, like, to just keep it in house, they might look for outside investment, and you might look at 20% and think, well, that's still 80% control that the new owners have. 20% of Dubai money is a hell of a lot. And ultimately they want success, and so we'll see what happens. That's getting way too convoluted into it, but definitely going to be a slow process. Although I think the first steps are meant to be taken next year in terms of like some control being handed over. But Wick Grusbeck's not looking to really fully move aside until 2028 because he wants to remain in charge as a governor. And so we'll just see what happens, and that's why I think most of us are trying to live in the moment, because we don't know how long this current core is going to be together. Like, obviously Tatum and Brown will hopefully be there for a lot longer, and they should outlast everyone else on that team. But stuff could start changing as soon as next off season. So we're just going to try and enjoy the moment and see what happens.
Absolutely. You can't leave the TD Garden, can you? People would riot, wouldn't they? They moved the arena to somewhere else.
It would be very unpopular. It would be
Absolutely.
very unpopular. But, at the end of the day, the owners are businessmen. They've got to make their money. Yeah. So, unless they might try and rework some sort of agreement with who, I don't know who the Bruins owners are. I'm not an ice hockey fan.
No.
Work some sort of agreement that they can have, like, say, a quarter of the Celtics ticket sales like a visit. They need to make money. So I think, it was definitely, if we do move, I don't want, obviously you want it to be relatively modern and stuff, but I don't want it to be like the Clippers one. I want it to, there's something about the TD Garden which is special in terms of like it being what it is, like one of the older courts and stadiums. So I definitely want to maintain that aspect of the new building if and when it comes.
Absolutely. So, how does Al Horford keep doing it, bro? You think, there's going to be slowing down at some point? He's coming, north end of 30. But, the man keeps, we don't know how many years left of Al Horford we're going to have. I think he probably, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, bro, but I think he kind of mulled it over maybe in the off season, whether he's going to give it another go. And
I think that he put that to bed very quickly. He had no, he had no intentions. I mean, look, he's I think the thing you can say, especially in this age of like social media, no one hates Al Horford. Well, Philly fans maybe for that 1 year that he had there, but even then, that's more on Philly not knowing how to use him properly. Because you look throughout his career. I mean, this is me now taking a shot at Philly fans because why not? And Philly in general,
mate, they're having a hard time enough, bro.
Exactly, we'll pile on. But throughout Al Horford's career, he's always succeeded. And you look at the 1 year where he didn't, and it was in Philadelphia. Yeah. And Al Horford's been in the league for 15 plus years.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on Al Horford that the Philly stint didn't work out. That says to me there's a bit more about the franchise that he was with rather than, the actual player himself. Look, he's the ultimate professional. He keeps himself in incredible shape. He works on his body so much. Obviously the holding him out of back-to-backs definitely helps. He's not having to put that much strain on his body. Once the seedings are locked up as well, he'll be shut down, ready for the playoffs. I think it's just a concerned effort on all sides, like keep him fresh. Ultimately, when you've been in the league for 15 plus years, you know what your body needs, you know how to take care of it. He knows what he needs to do. Obviously the medical staff do a great job with him in terms of watching his minutes. So, we can up his minutes when needed, but then say on a back-to-back, if he's playing the front end of it, we can play him northwards of 35, 36 minutes, knowing that he's not playing the next night. He can have it off. Again, it goes back to living in the moment. We don't know how long Al Horford's got. You talk about LeBron James. LeBron's not going to be in the league for more than 2 years, it looks like. And it looks like it might be coming to an end sooner rather than later with LeBron. As Celtics fans, specifically for Al Horford, we are just really cherishing how many more times we get to watch him, because we talked about Marcus Smart earlier and how he set the culture. Al Horford, in terms of being a vet for Tatum and Brown, you listen to Tatum talk about him. Tatum says he's his favorite teammate. Like, he's learned so much about being a professional from him from when Horford was there in his first stint with the C's. It's incredible. It's incredible to watch, especially how he's reworked his game, because at the start of his career he was a post-up player, didn't take hardly any threes, just banged away on the low block, and now he's completely switched course and gone to a space out man who can still defend at an incredibly high level, but barely gets any post-up opportunities now, barely gets to the free throw line, but he's still reliable. It's just great. And especially when he's on like a team-friendly deal, I think he signed a 2-year extension for 20 mil back in 2020 or 2021. He's now in the last year of that. And because of how our roster is built, yes, he'll only be able to have a veteran minimum. But it's just one of those scenarios where he loves playing for the Celtics. The Celtics love having him. he doesn't really want to go anywhere else. Like, you know, his family's back in Boston and all settled. They love the community loves them. Like, it's kind of it's like a match made in heaven, really. So, you know, all I hope is that when he does decide to retire, he gives us advance notice. Like, I can't be dealing with this. I can't be dealing if he retires on the spot. Like, I want as much as it will be hard for that farewell tour of like, this is the last times that Horford's ever playing at the Garden and putting on a Celtics jersey and whatnot. Yeah, I think we all, as Boston Celtics fans, selfishly, we want to be able to say that. We want to be able to give him the send off he deserves as well. Like, you know, you look at Kobe having 60 points in his last game. Like, you know, everyone knew it was his farewell tour. LeBron is more than likely going to announce it's a farewell tour, and everyone will, you know, everyone will want to give him his flowers, no matter how much you've hated him over the years. Like, if he's destroyed your team, everyone's going to want to give him his flowers. So, you know, Horford's not on those guys' level, but in terms of what he means to the Celtics franchise, like in recent memory, like, you know, he epitomizes what it is to be a Celtic. And, you know, I just hope that, they say, he gives us the advance notice so that the fans and everyone can like appreciate him and show him the love when he's there. And who knows, if he wins a couple more rings or so, if he goes back to back this year, maybe his jersey goes up after he hangs it. Because at the minute, the only locks out of this current team are Tatum and Brown. Now, if this goes on to be a dynasty, then everyone else comes into, you know, maybe we should put them up. But, you know, he's just incredible. Like, it's just phenomenal to see a guy, you know, approaching 40 and keep himself in incredible shape. Never gets hurt. You know, OKC sat him down for being too old and because he was helping them win when they wanted to tank.
Yeah,
like, that's incredible. You know, and I'm so happy Brad Stevens brought him back. I think it was one of his first moves as president of basketball. He brought Al Horford back, and it's been incredible. So
get this man back. We need this man back in the rotation, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, he didn't. Yeah, they kind of sat him, didn't they, at OKC? I think he played like on just under 30 games or something. It hardly played, did he? So it looked like the career was kind of over. He was on the way out.
I think was it that weird COVID year that he was there? I think it might have been, or it might have been. It's like the year after the bubble, because he went to the bubble with Philly. Obviously, Philly collapsed, got swept by us in the first round. And then Philly swapped him to OKC. I can't remember that trade package, but then OKC were like, we've got Shea. They just moved Chris Paul to. They've moved Chris Paul to Phoenix at that time.
Come to us. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, and then kind of like, so Shea was ready to take that next step, but the rest of the OKC team wasn't really quite there. So Horford was that perfect vet presence for them. And then, basically like, they were like, we don't want too big of a winning record. Like, we would like another draft. We'd like another lottery pick. Like, we'll just sit you down. And again, it was one of those moves, like, it just didn't fit the timeline for OKC long term. Like, you know, everyone could see what OKC wanted to do. But as one of the ones, OKC were also really good. Like, I've got a good credit to Sam Presti and the front office over there and the coaching staff, like Mark Daigneault. Like, they've been incredible. Like, it was one of those ones, you can be that vet presence in the locker room for a team full of young guys. You can show them what it's like to be an NBA player in this league, like how to handle yourself. And then they sat him down, they worked with him for next steps. And then, I love Kemba Walker, but, you know, forever fuck Nick Nurse for ruining his knees and basically killing his stint in Boston. But then Brad Stevens brilliantly moved Kemba to get Al Horford back. And, you know, I still remember the Woj bomb of him saying the Celtics are bringing back Al Horford in the trade. I was there like, oh my God, yes, this is perfect. So, fair play. Thank you, OKC, for helping us do that one. And we'll see what happens later on down the line.
Absolutely. You always need an adult in the room, don't you, mate? And these young teams, you always need an adult in the room, don't you? Just to, like, you know, keep them on the straight and narrow if you can. Like, you know, I think all teams. There's a couple of teams probably now who could do with an adult in the room. But
I think there are a few that, you know, are missing some veteran leadership. But you know, then that's on their front office and coaching staff and team culture. Like, it's obviously not conducive enough to have that. So, you know.
Yeah,
we're not going to waste our time worrying about that when we've got one.
No, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. What do you enjoy more, Brad Stevens, the coach, or Brad Stevens, the GM? Which one
GM easily. Like, just for the sole purpose that he eventually got us a championship as a GM. I mean, I think, we were all surprised anyone because we lost to that Brooklyn super team that arguably should have won a championship if it wasn't for a big toe and a sprained ankle. But literally like the day after the series ended, Shams and Woj are tweeting that Danny Ainge is stepping down, Brad Stevens is stepping up. There's a new head coach, and any change brings about instability, but that's a lot of change in a very short period of time.
Sure.
And then the rumors of KD being unsettled, and could we flip Tatum Brown for him? And you listen to. I think what I appreciate most about Brad Stevens GM, he's a lot more public. He loves to talk. Like when he was a coach, he didn't give anything away at all.
Yeah.
As a GM, he's become so much more like out there. Even like our local media stuff, like we'll sit down at media day, and you could just tell the difference straight away that he was the GM and not the coach. Like from his first media day as GM, like he's so much more open and willing to talk about stuff. And we talk about like the trades he flipped. He got Derek White for a packet of crisps. Yeah, and look how good Derek White is now. Yeah. I mentioned the Peyton Pritchard contract extension. Picking up Sam Hauser undrafted and helping develop him with stints in Maine, and then sitting on the back end of our bench, and because of other people moving on, like moving up. The Drew Holiday trade, literally as soon as Drew got traded to Portland, Brad was there like, right, we've got to go get this guy. Because he wanted him every year as a coach. He went to Danny Ainge and went, can we get Drew Holiday? And Danny would go, no. So he literally, it's kind of one of those things. It comes back around eventually, Brad. The KP trade, yes, he kind of made himself Boston, maybe moral enemy number one for a little bit because he traded Marcus Smart. But, it worked out in the end. The continuance, the not breaking the Jays up, because there were so many times throughout Brad's time as a coach and then the early stages of him as a GM, under that Udoka year where we were 12th in the East at one point, under 500, and that's where the noise got really loud of you need to break the Jays up, you make the right trades, you flip Josh Richardson and Dennis Schroeder for, I think Daniel Tice came back as injury insurance, you get the Derek White trade done, and that's where this team has been on a roll. Definitely enjoyed Brad Stevens as GM more. I mean, Brad Stevens as a coach was also great. Like, there's a reason why when coaching opportunities come up around the league, he is still linked to his terms of could we tempt him out of being the GM. And, I've got to give credit to our, Brad's obviously the focal point of our front office, but got to give credit to our front office as a whole. They do a phenomenal job with, scouting players, getting the contracts done, having a clear vision, being in line with Joe Mazzulla and what they need and what they want and how they want to do things. Like, if you don't have that connection between your GM and your coach and your players, then you probably aren't going to go far. So it's great. And if I was Celtics ownership, I'd be currently preparing a lifetime contract extension. And not to quote Rio Ferdinand, because I don't really like him a lot, but there's that infamous clip of listen, let him write the numbers, let him put whatever he wants on it, and let him sign it. Ultimately, that's how I feel about Brad Stevens at this point. Like, let him put whatever numbers he wants, let him put the years on the contract, as long as it's longer than, as long as we're into double digits on the contract length, I'm absolutely fine with it.
Absolutely. I think there was a lot of question marks on Joe Mazzulla as well, the coach, taking over from Udoka at the time. It was a very quick change. It happened just before the season. And then unfortunately, I think he looked a bit out of his depth, but I think last season he kind of put all those doubters to rest by winning it all. Always silence the doubters, doesn't it? When you go all the way, and what else can people say? Like, there's nothing to say then, is it?
The youngest head coach in Boston history, alongside I think Bill Russell, to win an NBA championship. It's not bad to have. I think I will say on Mazzulla's rookie year, I wouldn't say. I mean, no, he definitely did have doubters. You're correct on that, but I think he was just misunderstood by the media because he was very short in his answers. But then I always like to look at, the alternative. So when JJ Redick had his podcast, which he probably should maybe think about bringing back because the Lakers stint isn't going that well so far. I love JJ, but
we've got 40th minute and it's the first Lakers stab. Like we've done well, mate, up to now. I'll be honest.
But Joe did an interview with JJ. Ahead of the second year, so we just swung the KP trade, and the Drew trade was literally happening as they were doing it. And JJ kind of asked him how much more comfortable do you feel and all this sort of stuff, and Joe said he felt more comfortable with the media And like, you know, obviously the media in America is fucking huge, like 10 times what it is over here, especially when you're the Celtics, like one of the most recognizable franchises, and especially when you are, you know, I hate to say it in this kind of society, but when you're black, you know, there is ultimately going to be more scrutiny on you. Unfortunately, that's the way the business works at this point, which is a shame, but is how it is. But Joe said like he became more comfortable with the media. He became more comfortable in his philosophy. He just went through all those experiences because, you know, how many of us, like if we got chucked into that situation, we do a hell of a lot worse than what he did. We won 53 odd games, second seed, like, you know, got to you're a game away from going to your second consecutive finals appearance. And yes, you would have been matching up with a Denver team that would have been an incredible series, but you had a stacked team to go head to head with them. Like, you know, it's just a lot of things, you know, that kind of just weren't going, that didn't go Missoula's way. And then, yeah, you look at that second year, obviously the moves helped to get Porzingis on holiday, but he then, you know, if you go back and watch any of Joe Mazzulla's press conferences from his first year compared to Mazzulla's press conferences last year to even this year, like you can just quite clearly tell the guy's more comfortable. You know, he's gone through the experiences, and yeah, exactly. You win a championship in the second year, you got to shut everyone up for a bit. Like, you know, how many? I think Steve Kerr won a championship his first year as a head coach, but you know, that's not like a normal thing to do.
No, that's not it's the exception, not the rule, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So, you know, it's and like you just listen to who he is as a person, and like, you know, even the little things like there's stuff that's come out this week about like, you know, the guys' kids being allowed at practices and joining on the road. Like, oh, you know, everyone sees Deuce at Celtics homes game, but Al Horford's eldest son, Ian, he's coming on road trips now and like, you know, being part of the bench and, you know, handing out towels and stuff to the players and everything. And like, you know, Xavier Tillman's got, I think, 3 kids there around quite a lot. You know, Drew Holiday's got daughters, so they're around a fair bit. You know, you look at that sort of thing, and like he understands that it's bigger than sport. It's bigger than just what you're doing on a basketball court. It's how everyone is as a family. So, you know, for those guys feeling confident enough to bring their family into the team environment, you know, it's you know, it's great. And honestly, again, like the Brad Stevens thing, like honestly, give Joe Mazzulla as many years as he wants, however much money he wants. Like, I don't want anyone else coaching throughout the Tatum Brown era. I don't want another Celtics head coach than Mazzulla. Like, you know, those guys loved Ime and they love playing for Joe even more. You know, it's like when your star players can back your head coach all the time and have that connection, like it's a special thing. And, you know, some people think he's quirky, some people think he's misunderstood. Is there like whatever? He doesn't really care about that outside of the narrative. He focuses on what's in the locker room and how he can get the best out of winning. And, you know, ultimately, if you just watch his press conferences, you're probably going to come away with a great quote that you can use. So,
absolutely. I mean, the guy was advocating for fighting, bringing back fighting again the other week. I mean, he
said something at the start of the season. They're like, none of you got like, you know, he doesn't feel the pressure of having to repeat. And he said, you know, pressure's just words. They can't hurt me. And it's like, you know, in 40 years from now, we're all going to be dead, but I'm probably going to die first. I'm older than you, and none of you guys are invited to my funeral. And it's like, you know, it's like, you know, yes, he's legitimately a psychopath about basketball. Like, he's a basketball sicko and psycho, but he's an incredible human as well, and that's what, you know, that's what the players are about.
He's describing his offense to killer whales attacking their prey, just like what we talking about, dude?
He literally just went walking through North End of Boston like after they won the championship, like just literally out on the streets with the Larry O'Brien trophy. And like, yes, he had security with him. I think his wife was with him as well. Like, he's literally you just have the gut feeling that someone gets it, and he definitely encapsulates that. He definitely gets it. So, you know, I'm incredible. Like, you know, again, I was there, you know, start of that year going, well, what the fuck's Ime done to get suspended? With reviews to later, like potentially coming back. And then second of all, who the fuck is Joe Mazzulla? Like, who the fuck is he? And then you know, it's now like, we know who Joe is now. So it's
absolutely.
It's cool. It's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, sometimes because the change was so quick, you kind of like maybe in the shadow of the person who's already left. But I think obviously, it goes without saying, Joe's kind of got out the shadow now, and now he's his own kind of personality and made a name for himself, hasn't he? Obviously, so Yeah, but when the change comes so quick, because it comes like, was it a week before the season, 2 weeks before the season
training
started?
camp. It was like training camp. Yeah, just
Yeah.
it was like 2 days before training camp. Like
Yeah.
it came out that Ime was getting suspended, and then
Yeah.
Mazzulla had to step up, and then I think he had a few changes to the coaching staff, not an awful lot, but then most of those guys were Udoka's guys. Like that wasn't his staff that he took over. He took over basically a staff full of Ime's guys. And obviously, when Ime was let go by the Celtics, and then he picked up the job in Houston, ahead of last season, like we had a lot of change on our bench because all of those guys were Udoka guys, and we just followed and just went with them. So again, that goes to the confidence factor. Last year it was his first year in terms of having his own guys. Like Sam Cassell has been huge. You had Charles Lee, who's now the head coach in Charlotte. Matt Reynolds, like all of these guys. There's so many, like our entire coaching staff. But that was the first year last year that he had his own coaches there, and I think that says that gives a whole different level amount of comfort to a second year head coach than maybe we give credit for.
No, absolutely, mate. Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely silenced the doubters. That's what you do when you win, when you go all the way and win it, isn't it? So 100%. So pivoting to like your two main guys, Tatum and Brown. Arguably, some people are saying Tatum is playing the best basketball of his career, and maybe Jalen is too. There was a lot of talk in the summer about the Olympics, Brown not making the Olympic team. White got the call instead of Brown. Brown had a lot to say about it, saying it was, because he wasn't sponsored by Nike. And then Tatum probably not getting as many minutes as a lot of people thought he was going to do in the gold medal game. I don't think he got many minutes at all. So
throughout the entire tournament, mate. It wasn't just limited to the final game.
no, very true, mate. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, do you think there's a little bit of Tatum and Brown this year, kind of using that as fuel to kind of go again and show everybody that that what they were missing out on, possibly? Or what are your thoughts on that, Rob?
I think if you say otherwise, you're stupid. To be quite frank, this one I could really go on a really, really long tangent. I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try and keep it to the point. But
please do, sir. Please do.
We'll start with Tatum. Tatum's been All NBA first team for the last 4 years, and last year was unanimous first team All NBA. Jaylen Brown's been an All NBA player. They've both been All Stars. I get it was the last dance. Like you bring in LeBron, you bring in KD, you bring in Steph. You've obviously got AD, Bam. Embiid decides to flip last minute to US, and like you bring him along. Everyone else that was there, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, obviously there, Derek White getting a late call up. The guy was a top 5 basketball player and was just coming off a championship run where he led the team in points, rebounds, and assists, which has only been done by 4 players before him, one of which he was sharing the court with in LeBron. And you're telling me Steve Kerr can't find him minutes? After he was the second best player on the Tokyo team, where Steve Kerr was also the head coach. Yes, not as stacked a roster as this year, but still a very, very good roster because it's America and they can put out the best Olympic roster pretty much whenever they want. Quite frankly, it's bullshit. It said an awful lot about Steve Kerr as a coach, which you listen to Warrior fans, they aren't exactly happy with him as a coach at the best of times, how he, operates. Obviously we're not there. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but you listen to every player that's come out and spoken about, like Drew Holiday just went on Paul George's podcast, and Drew said JT never brought it into the locker room, never made it personal, never made an issue. He understood what the bigger thing was in terms of you're playing for a gold medal, and JT to have his second gold medal at 26 is actually insane. He never made it. He was the first one in the gym. He was constantly working. He stayed ready for his moment when he was called upon. But Paul George said, I think we were all shocked that Tatum didn't get minutes. And they're like, Drew Holiday was like, yeah, this is Jason Tatum. He's a top 5 player in the league. Why is he not playing? And it's, Shams has come out and said, "Oh, Tatum's he's going to seriously think about the next Olympics and all this sort of stuff." Is there like his whole demeanor doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to hold that as a massive grudge. I think if it happened for a second go round at the next Olympics, that's when he might, get a little bit more vocal about it in terms of, well, I am a top 5 player in this league, and you tell me you can't find minutes. And arguably, by the time the next Olympics rolls round, he's arguably going to be the number 1 option on that Olympic team.
Yeah.
Like in terms of being in terms of the thought of best American player in the league. Because you look at it now, like Jokic, obviously from Europe, Giannis from Europe, Embiid originally from Cameroon, Shea's Canadian. Like, we're talking about LeBron's not going to be around forever. Steph isn't going to play at the next Olympics. KD probably isn't going to play at the next Olympics. You're looking at a case where Tatum is like your headline guy for Team USA. It's incredibly weird. It was incredibly weird. As a Celtics fan, we were kind of there like, yes, you're angry in a moment, but then you look at it on the flip side and you go, this could be perfect. Like, he's already getting slighted for not winning finals MVP. Now he's not getting run in the Olympics. Like, we could see a different version of Tatum coming out this year. I think as much as he's opened up a little bit more this year to the media because of obviously he's got the comfort of being a champion. But like, there's a little bit more of you can definitely tell he's on a revenge tour, if you want to call it a revenge tour. He's definitely on it. Like, I'm here to show everyone that, I am who everyone thinks I am. I am a top 5 player in this league. And ultimately, like, into the entire Tatum discourse is like, if he wasn't good, you wouldn't be talking about him.
True. Yeah.
Just to be very, very blunt. If he wasn't good, you wouldn't be talking about him. And he says this multiple times. Like, people, you don't slander people. You don't talk about people if they aren't good. NBA just released they went back to the old Christmas jingles advert that they had a few years ago. And they kept 3 of the same guys in there. And Tatum was one of the new 2 as like a frontliners. They're like, yeah, you guys on social media can chat all the shit that you want. The NBA knows what's up. The NBA knows that Jason Tatum is the face of this league. Like, so yeah, I'm enjoying this stretch of Tatum playing incredible basketball, and hopefully it ends up with an MVP and another championship at the end of it. But ultimately he's also not the type of guy at this moment in time to be that selfish and go, all right, I'm winning MVP, fuck everyone else, fuck winning a championship. Like, he wants to win a championship.
Yeah.
So that's the Tatum side of things. The Brown side of things, Jaylen Brown's a phenomenal human. Like, just to start off, he's a phenomenal human. All the work that he does, like, he's incredible. And again, just as pillars of the Celtics, I'm so happy that these 2 guys are my franchise players. Like, they're incredible humans as well as basketball players. Do I think that Nike had stuff to do with it? Yes, because it's almost too much of a coincidence for them not to have something to do with it. Again, you're looking at the Finals MVP. The Finals MVP, when Kawhi Leonard goes down and pulls out of the Olympic team, you're telling me you're not going to give the Finals MVP the roster spot? What are we doing? And, he's been very critical of Nike in the past, which is, a great thing in terms of, looking at their ethics. And, he's very vocal about it. You can go through his tweets and it's there, Yeah. And when you look at everyone on that Olympic team, Nike make the kits. Nike are a principal sponsor of Team USA. You look at it from that. You look at it from a PR and business point of view. You can't exactly be giving someone who criticizes your brand and he makes your kits. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you give him a roster spot. But that says more about Nike than it does about Jaylen Brown. And again, Celtics fans called Tatum and Brown fire and ice. Brown's the fire, Tatum's the ice. Is there like, you are literally showing a red flag to a bull with Jaylen Brown. Like, we've seen it earlier this year. Giannis doing the handshake, putting his hand away, and Jaylen Brown then just calls him a child. And then Nike subtweet him going after Giannis had 60 or whatever it was. They go, nothing childish about that. And Brown, that is Brown then fires a shot back. Like, you just need to learn to pick your fights. And I just would not be fighting Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, he can cross you up, he can put you on a poster, and he can dominate you. Like, and again, like, for a guy to be coming off Finals MVP with added motivation, That just doesn't happen very often. Like it's not the norm. And so, I think that's what everyone kind of realized once the Olympics had died down and the NBA was starting to ramp back up. We had the draft, we had free agency, and then we got into like the preseason games. Everyone was there like, yeah, the Celtics have run everyone back, and their two best players have got very good reason to be slighted after how they've been treated. And everyone's kind of going, shit. It's like, yeah, you should be worried. Because they've proven they can do it now. They have all the confidence in the world. They've proven they can break the barrier. They've proven they can win a championship together. Yeah. And then they both got massively disrespected over the summer. It's like, again, as a Celtics fan, I'm just enjoying it. I can see I can see it in their play. I'm there like, yeah, you come out opening night against the Knicks, you've got banner night, you've got ring night, like all the emotions. Tatum comes out and drops a 35-point double-double, almost a triple-double, shot like 70% from three, like after changing his jump shot, like it's just, and you blew the Knicks out. And again, this is after the Knicks had made all their moves, like, oh my god, the Knicks are the biggest challenges the Celtics needs. The Celtics literally went, lol. So, like, just think Clark could beat us.
Just swiped him aside. Just
KP wasn't even playing, and it's like, again, who has it better than Celtics fans? I don't think a lot of people do. So, they are definitely playing with a chip on their shoulder. It's going to be great to see going throughout the rest of the season as we get towards the postseason as well. Tatum and Brown always kick it up another gear. I think Tatum's stats pretty much, bar maybe the last couple of years because of the rosters that he's had, every year in the playoffs, he's upped his points per game, he's upped his efficiency, he's upped his rebounds, he's upped his defense. Like, these guys turn it on when it matters the most. And like, I go back to Game 7 against Philly in 2023. It's like, I wasn't overly worried because I knew Tatum steps up in the big moments, and obviously he goes and drops 51, which is great. That's a Game 7 playoff record, Philly fans, in case you're wondering. I thought I should mention the playoffs because it doesn't look like Philly are going to get there this year, even with all the things they've done. So we got to set the record straight.
Never say never, mate, without bad the East is, mate.
No, that's true. The East is a weak conference, but that doesn't mean there aren't still some strong teams. Look at Orlando. Orlando have lost their two best players for injury. They're third. The Bucks are now starting to come good. It's like Brooklyn are in a play-in tournament, and everyone thought they were going to be the worst team in the league. Like, it doesn't matter what excuses. Excuses don't win championships. Excuses don't get you to the playoffs. Like, you've got to work your way through it. So, ultimately they are playing with a chip on their shoulders. It's amazing to see as a Celtics fan because they've all the motivations there, and hopefully just keep doubting them. Keep talking bad on them because they're just going to go the other way. And then when your team inevitably loses to them, don't run then. Don't run then. Like you take your medicine. Take your medicine then.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes when you win a title, sometimes that you kind of get all the plaudits. And so you think you come back in the next season, you think, I've got nothing to prove. I'm a champ now and all that. I mean, for like you say, from a Celtics fan like yourself, Rob, it's like, to have them people like kind of doubting you now is that motivation to come back again and kind of show everybody as a fan for you. You must be like, keep saying that stuff, keep motivating them, and
it's perfect. Like, we still haven't lost 10 games this year. Like, Tatum is firmly in the MVP conversation. Like, Brown showing why he should be in the All NBA conversation.
Yeah,
great. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. It's great.
Just keep piping up, mate. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously you mentioned on the opening night, the Boston kind of blew out the Knicks in the end, and I think one of the things I noticed is you guys are shooting a lot more threes, and I think this has been mentioned quite a lot because the Celtics have kind of pushed over that threshold of they're taking like 30. Going up 53s a game, over 53s a game they're averaging at the moment. And I think a lot of people have had a lot to say about is it ruining the game, too many threes? What are your thoughts, Rob? Are they shooting too many threes? Do you like the style of basketball. I think basketball in general. I don't think it's just the Celtics. I think it's just the way that the league's kind of gone over the last decade, isn't it? But what are your thoughts on it?
We're 19-5 and won a championship from shooting these amount of threes. That's a simple answer.
That's your one sentence answer, isn't it? Yeah.
That's a simple answer.
That's right, yeah.
If we're gonna go a bit more into it,
yeah.
Steph Curry has changed the league with how many threes are being shot, and him pulling from half court, and obviously he's worked incredibly hard, but he's worked incredibly hard to be able to do that. And if you again listen to Steph about how he shoots, it's like I started under the rim and then worked my way back. It's like I didn't start just. It's not like everyone now who starts further away and then goes in towards the basket. It's like, no, he started right under the rim, layups and driving and layup, and then mid-range, step back mid-range, like pull up mid-range, and then it goes to the 3-point line. It's like, right, well, can you nail every single type of three at the 3-point line? And then it goes to your ridiculous, like, heat checks, pull up just above half court, off the, triple threat into a pull-up, like swish, like. So Steph has really changed. Steph is the one that really changed the league, and that's where you saw people and also like Kyle Korver, teams having specific shooters on their team. Like Sam Hauser is our shooter. Like Sam is now starting to work in some drive and kick and some layup packages because he knows that teams are going to close out hard on him, and he's going to be run off the 3-point line because he's like a 42% career 3-point shooter. So on the scouting report, it's Sam Hauser is always going to be camped at the 3-point line. If he gets it, you need to close out hard to him and force him off the line if you can. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think if I'm going to be brutally honest, I think maybe we are doing a little bit too much. Not a massive amount, because again, it won a championship. So why would you change? But I think it's just people being butthurt that they don't have a roster that can do the same things. Like, your top 8 guys can't all extend the the spacing and shoot beyond the 3-point line. Oh, sucks to be you. Like, ultimately, that's how your team's set up. Like, our team, like, and again, like the whole Porzingis trade was a masterstroke because he's 7'3" and can shoot from pretty much a logo. It's like, well, pretty much as soon as you step across half court, you have to guard him. If you switch on him, he's just going to take you to the basket and post you up and get a layup. Mm-hmm. Or the thing with the Celtics is they want you in rotation. As soon as you are in rotation, you are done for. Mm-hmm. Because they practice reads all the time. Like practices are reads. As soon as the ball goes into the post, and as soon as someone gets doubled, the spacing is set, and everyone is just read and react. If Tatum gets doubled, on the left wing, like above the elbow, someone's in that corner. Someone's at the top of the key. Someone's on the opposite wing, and then someone's in the opposite 3-point in the opposite corner.
Yeah.
As soon as you double, it's 4-on-3. It's simple maths. You can't. There is going to be an open shooter somewhere.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be an open player somewhere. And it just so happens that all of our guys, bar Luke Cornett and Neemias Queta, can shoot the 3. So it's like the spacing is set then so that they know as soon as Tatum or Brown or anyone gets double teamed, they know where everyone else is on the court. So they can go, right, we make this pass, and then they've got you in rotation and you're done for. Because you're either going to get given up a wide open 3 off the passes straight away, or we get into drive and kick, and then you're in another rotation, and then you are done for because we'll have a guy cutting to the hoop for the dunk. Yeah. So, it's like, be better defensively. I guess is kind of what I'm saying. Like, but it's a product of the roster. Like, because they can light you up from beyond the arc, you have to step out to guard them, and then you've got everyone can, like Tatum and Brown can crack anyone off the dribble, which then pulls you into help. And then they've become so much better playmakers than anyone will give them credit for, spotting the open man and being able to hit the open man. And then those guys are 37% 3-point shooters. Like, they're going to go down. And I saw a stat the other day. Like, I think the Celtics this year have shot under 33% from 3 6 times.
Wow.
You'd think we'd lose all those games, wouldn't you? We're 6-0 when we shoot 33% from three or less.
Yeah. Wow.
So we can beat you with the three, and we can beat you without the three.
Doesn't matter.
Probably this roster is just fucking incredible. Like that's the ultimate point. And I go back to literally what I said as soon as you asked me the question. We are 19-5 on the current season, and we've won a championship from putting up a lot of 3-pointers.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
No, absolutely not, mate. No, you're right. For a new, I mean, for you're winning basketball games, so you won't care, will you? You're winning basketball games. For somebody like me who's a neutral watching Boston, it's not quite the basketball that I enjoy watching as much. Going back to them, Golden State, the Houston, James Harden, Houston teams, it's not. I don't enjoy watching that kind of basketball as much as a team who playing inside out. But
that's completely understandable, and I respect everyone. Like, it might not be the favorite team to watch, but you mentioned the James Harden Houston teams. That was James Harden ISO ball.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, the ball is moving a lot more with you guys, isn't it, than it is with Harden?
Like it's not. We're not gonna say. Like, I think that again, a common misconception with us is that people just assume whoever dribbles the ball up then just takes a pull up three. It's like, no, we move the damn ball. Like Golden State with all their ball movement. Like, yes, it helps when you have 3 knockdown shooters and Draymond Green, who's a elite playmaker for his position. Like, they just manipulated defenses.
Sure. Yeah, I meant really with the amount of 3-point attempts, kind of comparing the Boston to the old Houston team. But like you say, bro, you're completely right. It's like Harden, it was just he dribbles for 16 seconds and then step back three.
Ultimately, teams find a way to win.
Sure.
Teams have a way of playing that they want to win basketball games, and if they do it, that's what they're going to keep doing. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, if we had a bunch of guys that could nail the mid range, we take a lot of fucking mid-range shots. Like, Tatum Brown, I think, this season currently are 2 of the top 10 in terms of worst mid-range field goal percentage. And it's like, well, yeah, that's fine, but have you seen what they're doing from the 3-point line? Like, it comes back to simple maths. 3s are worth more than 2s. Like, at the end of the day, it's as simple as that. So, yeah, look, I completely respect, like, everyone saying, like, oh, I don't like watching that basketball a lot. The issue I have is with the guys on TV that are talking about it's ruining the game. It's like, no, the league's been going this way, like you said, mate, for like the last decade.
This is nothing new, yeah.
This is nothing new. You're just mad because A, it's the Celtics doing it, B, they could be dominant while doing it, and C, it's because you've got all 5 fucking starting players doing it rather than just Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson. Like, it's just those sort of things. And ultimately, it's a great way of playing for us, and people love to hate on greatness. Like, it's just, once you kind of separate stuff out as people being jealous, or you work out very quickly that some of these guys on ESPN are not worth, and like First Take and everything, or Get Up. Some of these guys you just learn not to listen to. Like Kendrick Perkins. No one from Boston Celtics fan base gives a flying shit about that man because he just is not worth listening to. Like Richard Jefferson, I will listen to because ex-player, but also is knowledgeable, knows the game. Like, JJ Redick, when he would call games, I loved listening to him. I loved his podcast because he just was able to go into so much detail within the game. And there are other great analysts there on ESPN that know how the game works, like Tim Legler. Brian Windhorse, like some of these guys, they do have some questionable takes at times, as everyone does, but they more often than they do speak common sense. But there are certain people in the NBA media. I mean, the biggest one is Stephen A. Smith. You just learn not to listen to. Like, Stephen A. Smith, what did you average as a basketball player? Like, this is what I just don't like about the NBA media. What can Stephen A. Smith tell me? That what Jason Tatum is doing wrong when Jason Tatum's achieved more in his career than Stephen A. Smith will ever do. Like, there's a reason Jason Tatum is a top 5 player in the NBA, and there's a reason why Stephen A. Smith runs his gob on TV.
For me, mate, with the ESPN guys, it's the 30-second sound bites for social media and things like that, just to say something to create engagement, controversy. I'm just not a fan of that, bro. I'm with you, mate. Like, I'm unpopular opinion as well. I'm not a big fan of the TNT guys, Shaq and Charles and Kenny and them guys. I've heard enough times Shaq joke to Charles Barkley that he hasn't won a title. I've heard enough of it. Tell me what's happening in the game. Tell me why teams are doing what they're doing and why one team's winning and one's not. I want to hear that. I don't want to hear.
I'm the same. I want the breakdown. I want the X's and O's.
Yeah.
It's why I love JJ's podcast, because like he would break down the X's and O's in the podcast he had with LeBron for those 5 months before he then got hired to be LeBron's head coach. Like, you know, those two guys breaking down the game, and they broke down a fair few Celtics plays, and they're like, if your coaches were smart, they'd be watching this and then stealing it. Like, it's a copycat league. You know, it's a copycat league. Everyone has. There's very rarely like a time where a team has one play that another team does not have. It's just called different names out of different sets. And on those rare occasions where you do have a brand new play that you bring out and it works, guess what? That's now on film. Every other fucking team can use it. So, you know, it's a copycat league, and you know, it's just, I think you will end up seeing more and more teams shooting more and more threes, because ultimately we've proven over the last year, if you have the guys that can take them and make them, you can do really good things. Like, obviously it helps when all of your guys are really good defenders. You know, I think the thing with the shooters thing is that, you know, we're looking at Kyle Korver, JJ Redick, Steph to an extent. They're not exactly like great defenders, like point of attack defenders.
No.
Whereas now, like, you look at the Celtics, like, if you get Porzingis in a pick and roll and you get him on a switch on a shifty guard, yes, that's obviously a mismatch. You get past him, well, you've got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday waiting for him. Like, it's they aren't bad. They are very good defenders. Like, there's a reason Drew Holiday is a multiple-time all-defensive player. Derek White, all-defensive team last year. Brown and Tatum could quite easily get voted to all-defensive teams at some point. Like, you know, it is the perfect mash of these guys can shoot threes and then they can also play defense, which is an underrated part that no one talks about. It's like, you play great defense for 22 seconds, you force up a bad shot, it falls off, you get the rebound, and then you attack in transition, you get to your spacing. And, you know, this is the thing, when you get into transition, who the hell are you going to take? Everyone can finish in transition, and the other guys are going to space out to the 3-point line. So you need your numbers back in defense. Otherwise, that will lead to a wide open three. So in a way, the Celtics are kind of just broken the spirits of a load of other teams, because they just have so many different ways they can beat you. But yeah, the sound bites and the clips and stuff all over social media will be, they just walk the ball up and shoot threes. They're like, and that's how I can tell you don't watch Celtics games. Like, it's not like that at all. There is a ton of ball movement that goes into this. There's a lot of driving kick. There's a lot of, you know, like inverted pick and rolls and side pick and rolls and, you know, snap plays. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we do to get wide open looks, and you know, it's not just as everyone says it is walking up and shooting threes. That's where the misconception comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is, the ESPN had an X's and O's guys that low, and they let him go. So that's kind of where we're going, isn't it? It's like you had one X's and O's guy, and you let him.
Yeah, they decided to keep Kendrick Perkins over Zach Lowe. That should tell you everything that you need to know about ESPN.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely mind-boggling, mate. I mean, Zach will end up somewhere at some point, probably when they've paid off his contract or whatever. He'll be either on his own podcast or for somebody else.
I think he's doing some Substack stuff at the minute. So
like
on his own. I'm surprised the Athletic haven't gone and got him, to be honest, because he would be like perfect for like an Athletic style, like writing, like doing his own like maybe like 10-15 minute show of like breaking down like teams and how they play and stuff. And like,
he wasn't the best on TV, which is not an ESPN guy. That's the thing, isn't it? We're just saying, you know, it's about sensationalizing things, isn't it? It's about the 25-30 second sound bites. And Zach's not that guy. And you know, he kind of looks uncomfortable a bit on TV, really.
Zach's an honest, chill guy who just loves to talk basketball.
And that's not ESPN, basically.
It's not.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up on the Ringer with his old guy, Bill Simmons. It wouldn't surprise me that either. Who knows? But anyway, so probably last topic, I think, Rob, before we head out is obviously we've talked about Celtics, but who have you got your eye on as the season's gone on? Thinking, you know, these guys that we might see these down the road, and it might be a tough one to beat. Have you got anybody in mind in the East or the West if you do make it to the finals? Is anybody in the West you kind of scared of or something?
I've got two that I'm keeping an eye on in both conferences.
Okay.
So I'll give you them. Obviously, you can't knock Cleveland. Like, they are the number one team in the NBA right now in terms of record-wise for a reason. They are playing really good basketball.
Yeah.
I love what they've done. I love what Kenny Atkinson's doing as a head coach over there. Like, how he's got Evan Mobley playing, how he's got like the whole team playing. You know, I think they're getting Max Strus back soon, who's been a really good player for them. Again, like Kenny Atkinson, it just shows that like Brooklyn were wrong to bow down to the demands of their superstars to get rid of him and hire Steve Nash. Yeah, can we talk about how many head coaching jobs has Steve Nash had since that Brooklyn stint? I think it's a big fat zero, isn't it?
Same as Mark Jackson since he left Golden State, mate. Big fat zero, bro. Yeah,
exactly. They're not back in the league, and that's for a reason. So
yeah. There must be a reason behind that, and I think I know what it is.
We played Cleveland in the NBA Cup, and they gave us a really close game. Obviously, I'm not going to overlook them. You know, they say it'd be disrespectful to overlook a team that got a better record than us in the East. Like, they're top of the league for a reason. So I think if we keep trending like this, it'll be closer than the 5-game series we got last year, because obviously Donovan Mitchell got hurt. It'll also be at a later stage, I think, because we're probably getting up as the 1 and 2 seeds. We'll obviously get put on different sides of the bracket. So that you're looking at potential Eastern Conference Finals matchup there. The other one that I'm scared of in a minute, or one I'm not scared, more like looking out for. I think this could be the Magic's year. I think this could be the year that they really make a deep playoff run. Like, obviously, they played Cleveland last year, got knocked out round 1. They're dealing with injuries at the minute, which sucks. But if you want to spin the positive on it, you'd rather be dealing with injuries now than March time. You know, Banchero's out, but Franz Wagner took up the role and kind of ran with it and took the team with him. He's now hurt.
Both same injuries. Weird, like
very weird
injuries. Like very specific injuries. Like, I don't,
exactly.
very strange. I had to look that up. I didn't even know what that was. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, you know what I mean?
So like, obviously that sucks for them, but they're third in the East for a reason. They're doing pretty well, and I think, you know, they're just on the right development path. Like Jamal Mosley again, that it's a good lesson for any franchise. Like, you know, they had a couple losing seasons on Jamal Mosley, but they had a plan, they had a vision, and they've stuck with it. They're not gone, oh, right, you've had a couple losing seasons with, let's be honest, before Banchero, Wagner, and before they started putting the pieces together, the roster wasn't great.
No.
But they didn't go like, no, we're going to tear this up, we're going to fire him, we're going to get a new head coach, blah, 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 go and do it. It's like, no, we have a long-term vision here, we're sticking with it. And they're now getting their just rewards for it. So due to, like, you know, everyone's personal development, like, you know, like player-wise, coaching-wise, you know, they've got the chemistry together. They've added KCP over the offseason, which was a huge get, like championship experience, knows what it takes to get to the top. You know, has had the experiences of what it's like to go on a championship run, a deep playoff run, which none of these Orlando guys have gone on. So, you know, that experience is going to be invaluable for them throughout the year. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye out for Orlando. I think this could be the year that they surprise a few. They surprise a few teams in terms of maybe how easy they make a playoff game look or a matchup look. You know, as much as I think if we got later into the playoffs, an Orlando or a Cleveland series would scare me a bit more than it did last year. So we'll see how that happens. Obviously, a lot of basketball still to be played, and then out west again, can't discount OKC. This looks like it's a very good year for them. I like what they did with Hartenstein and Caruso, kind of like literal home run pickups they picked up Caruso in a trade. I mean, Chicago's front office needs studying there. Like, that's malpractice. That is malpractice. You didn't even get a first round pick back for Alex Caruso. Like, that's malpractice. I mean, Chicago have not exactly been the best front office. You look at that Zach LaVine contract that they want to try and move off of, which they're not going to be able to do without including at least one first round pick. You know, you didn't get anything for DeMar DeRozan. You know, I know Jimmy's obviously a big UK Chicago Bulls. He's a big Bulls fan, and I just feel sorry for those guys because, like, their front office has just been content with mediocrity and a play-in appearance. It's like you can't settle for that in the NBA. As harsh as it is, you either have to go all in or you have to rebuild. And Chicago's front office has just been there like,
yeah.
oh, you know what? We will be mediocre. We will, settle for appearance.
There's no point being in the mid, is there? It just doesn't do anything for anyone, team
exactly.
or fans or what. There's just nothing.
And the thing is, Chicago's not a small market town. Like Chicago, like if they made the right moves and stuff, they could get they could build that team back up. They could get people to come there. You look at how Brooklyn got KD and Kyrie in the same year. It's certainly not out of the question for Chicago to get back to where they were. But they're just front office just needs their heads wobbling a little bit. But back to OKC. I think you look at their roster; it's just full of really, really, really good players. There's not a lot else to be said, really. It's a lot of really good players. Shea's playing at an incredible level. He's in the MVP conversation. They've got you've got the Williams brothers. You've got obviously Chet Holmgren. There's Lou Dort, a defensive menace. Adding Alex Caruso into that. Hartenstein, his ability to be a facilitator at the 5.
They've had injuries as well, haven't they, bro? It just doesn't seem to matter. The train keeps going. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's mad, isn't it? They've got some defenders, haven't they? The young, athletic, big, and they just hound you to death. I know when they played the Suns a month or so ago, and they just hounded us. They were just all over us. They're everywhere, all of them. They're diving on the floor. And it's just like it must be really difficult to play against. I mean, they kind of almost shut down Luka and Kyrie the other night in the NBA Cup. And it's hard to play against, mate. That is when you're doing that for full games, man. It's tough. Isn't it against teams like that who are athletic and the hounding you, the hassling you, and everything's hard, everything's difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And they've also got the experience of going on a deep playoff run last year. I think they got to the Western Conference Finals last year. I think
semis. They lost to the Mavs, didn't they, in the semis?
Yeah, I knew they lost to the Mavs. I just couldn't.
That's right.
Minnesota. They got to the Western Conference Finals.
So
they've now got an experience of a deeper playoff run. Under their belt. Again, it just feels like the right time for OKC to make a run. The thing will be though for them, and this is where they're good with the amount of people that they've got homegrown, like Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet, Lou Dort, all these guys, they're homegrown players, so they can go above the cap to keep the team together. They can do it, so it feels like they are set up for a good few years of rebuilding. And again, props to their front office for having a vision. Sam Presti, the pick hoarder. I think we can quite
literally, they got 1 million draft picks as well.
This is the scary thing. If someone asks out, OKC are there how many picks do you want?
Yeah, I have a ton of them. Yeah,
how many picks do you want exactly? That's the interesting storyline I'm looking forward to them. Is if someone wants to move this year, will OKC are going to be linked?
Do they pull the trigger? Yeah.
Do they pull the trigger? And the next thing I'm going to mention are in a very similar boat as well. But OKC, I think they're set up for a good few years of being a solid contender. And, I think they could look to run the West for the next few years, especially with, Denver struggling. Mavs still haven't quite clicked from last year. Neither of Minnesota. Phoenix, you guys are dealing with injuries. And if one of your big 3 is out, you will continue to struggle because you do not have a roster beyond that.
Our margin for error is very small.
Exactly. All it takes is one freak injury to knock a guy out for 6-8 weeks. And that's a huge chunk of your season there. So, OKC, they've got the depth, they've got the talent, they've got the coaching, they've got the ability to add to players. That's the thing. I'm glad I'm in the East and not the West, because if I'm in the Western Conference right now, I imagine you might feel this way. You're fucking scared. You're fucking scared whenever you have to come up against Oklahoma City.
There ain't no layups, mate. There aren't many layups in this conference, bro. Every night it's just like, man, when are you going to get a break? When you go on the East Coast road trip for the
and even then you got to deal with the fucking time change.
yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's tough out here, bro. Not gonna lie, it's tough out there.
And then the second team, I think everyone kind of earmarked them as this year to kind of break out. The Houston Rockets. As much as Ime, what he did at the Celtics, obviously saw him get fired, is inexcusable. There was no denying that he's a great coach. He's a great coach. He holds his guys accountable, and especially with a young team again, we weren't exactly young when Ime took us over, but the fact he can call out the star players and hold them accountable to the best thing, like they could have an amazing game and Ime could slam them, and it's like, he has the ability to connect with his players. He gets them playing hard. They've got their guys locked up now. Jalen Green's locked up on a contract extension. Shane Goon's been locked up on a contract extension. Fred VanVleet, I think, has been a really good addition for them. They've got Dylan Brooks. As much as you might hate him, he's a very good defensive player. Jabari Smith Jr., they've got some talent there. And the only thing from an outside point of view, look at Houston is, do you have enough adults in the room? We mentioned with Al Horford, going to OKC and being the adult in the room.
Yeah.
Do Houston have enough adults in the room? Proper adults. I'm not counting Dylan Brooks in this conversation for his antics. You've got Fred VanVleet there, part of a championship team. Yeah, he's good. I don't know the deeper workings of their roster, so I can't quote seventh, eighth, ninth man that maybe they've got. I think they've got Steven Adams in there, who's an incredible vet. So they have got some veteran leadership there.
Yeah.
But is it a case of, do you have too many young guys that you're waiting to develop and waiting to take the next step?
Yeah.
And could you do with trading a few of them and a few picks to go get a veteran who you know what you're going to get, and you can plug in along these young guys?
Yeah,
I'm not going to say Jimmy Butler's the right vet, because I think his game has limitations that.
Yeah.
But
who's more of a Udoka player than Jimmy Butler?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's a marriage made in heaven, isn't it? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
We've both got that same energy,
Yeah, and the fact there's no smoke without fire, and the smoke is already there with Houston and going for Jimmy Butler. So Miami obviously want to probably go in a different direction, get a bit younger. They probably also don't want to pay Jimmy Butler a fuck ton of money.
50 million next year or something. 50.
I think this is his final year of his contract, but it's above 50 mil, and it's safe to say Jimmy Butler's not worth $50 million in this current NBA climate. Dan from Miami Heat UK might disagree with me, but especially when it's not a homegrown player like Bam, I can understand because it's homegrown and but Bam offers, I think, more for Miami Heat than Jimmy does. Again, Dan might absolutely come flame me for that, but Jimmy Butler in age 34, 35, getting paid $50 million. I remember when that contract came out, and I was like,
tough one.
If Miami don't win a ring, that's going to be a fucking tough contract to swallow. So maybe this is the year that they try and move off it, try and get a bit younger, really go in on Hero and Adebayo as their two cornerstones of the franchise. And normally Jimmy takes up a lot of their cap space to be able to, add around him. And obviously with the CBA, Miami could look to get out the tax, which would then help them in terms of roster building throughout free agency next year. Because obviously it's taken at the end of every season where you are in the tax and how that impacts you for next year. So, I know very well as a Celtics fan, I look forward to anyone joining on a vet minimum for the next 5 seasons. If anyone that wants to come on a vet minimum, come ring chase for the Celtics, you are more than welcome to come join, because we can't get anyone else. We'll have our draft picks, but we can't make a splash in free agency now. We can trade, we can sign veteran minimum free agents, and we can draft people, and that's it. I think you're in a similar boat over there in Phoenix. You guys can't. You guys can't do a lot either, and you guys have even less picks than we do. So,
very true, sir. Very true. Especially when you've got one of your top 3 paid guys who's got a no trade clause too.
Yeah, interesting that. You can thank Washington for that. That's not your fault. You can thank Washington.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
true. I think with Houston, they've got off to a really good start this year, which is not easy. As you mentioned, that Western Conference, there is no layups in that conference. You are going into a dogfight against every Western Conference team. Even the Pelicans, they've been battered and bruised to start this year. You looked at that Pelicans team on paper when healthy, and they're like, that could be a top 3 seed in the West. It's just unfortunate for them. Injuries have literally just killed their season before it got going. But I think finishing up on Houston, I think really good team, really good coaching staff over there. Obviously, from seeing them up close in Boston, like I say, it's now, does the front office believe that this could be the year that they try and put it together? Do they make a couple of win now moves and sacrifice? They've got the young guys there with potential that they can dangle in trades. It's just, who do they think is going to work out best? Who do they want to trade? How much do they want to trade in terms of like draft capital? Like, how do the front office evaluate that? And again, it's still too early. We're not even into post-Christmas basketball yet, but the trade deadline will come up very quickly post-Christmas and post-New Year. Like when you get into January, I think the trade deadline's in February. You'll start, I think, obviously, depending on who you believe, if you believe Shams or Jimmy Butler's agent, that's your choice. But, players are on the block, and players, in those expiring deals are willing to be moved. We'll have to wait and see. And I think just rounding up on that Jimmy Butler one, it's just very interesting. Like the back and forth like between him and his agent, or between Shams and Jimmy's agent. It's hilarious,
Yeah.
Again, like I can sort of see it in a way, because Shams mentioned you guys as landing spots. They're like, you literally cannot get him unless you trade one of your big three, which you're not going to do.
Right.
Like you literally cannot get him.
No. Yeah, it's where are these rumors come from? According to sources, and what are the sources like? And things like that.
I appreciate Shams' position. Like he's done a very good job. Like especially when he was at the Athletic, he broke a lot of news. But
absolutely.
I miss Woj. With Woj, I had a lot more confidence that what he said was true. Like I took Woj at his words. If I saw the words the insert team here are monitoring certain player here, I was there like, right, so give it about 3 weeks, this trade's going to go down, and then 3 weeks later, the trade would go down. And so like, see, I knew Woj would come through for me. Like that, and then like Shams also mentioned Golden State. I said like, again, they can't afford Jimmy Butler with the tax, because they're in the luxury tax, you can't aggregate salaries, which you'd have to do to get him. And then you can start getting into this weird business. Like, who was it this offseason that was involved in like an 8-team trade to get them somewhere? There was someone offseason.
It was the Towns trade, wasn't it? Knicks. And
yes, it was. It was like it ended up being a fucking 8-team trade because of salary.
To make the money work and stuff. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Now the CBA's really locked down that you're with your team, and in a lot of situations you kind of stop, bro, aren't you?
It's like, this is but that's where you look at teams who've got aging players on massive contracts might look to go, actually, if we can get under the tax for this year, if we kind of write it off a little bit in terms of we know we're not going to go far anyway, but if we can get under the tax, that then opens us up for free agency next year. Free agency, I think next year is a decent class. It's not a massive one, but it's a decent class that's out there. Again, these big market teams like your Miami's, like your Chicago's, like some of your teams out west, like if you can get yourself under the tax and build and make yourself an attractive destination to bring in one or maybe two superstars, you can then immediately change the feel of the franchise in a few weeks in the off season. So overall, I think Cleveland and Orlando, ironically, the team above us and the team below us in the East, and then the top two out west in OKC and Houston. I think those are the two that I'm caught with. Sort of, I wouldn't say scared, because I'm not really scared because we're champions, and I've got the utmost confidence. But definitely guys to look out for in terms of like keep an eye on. You get late into a playoff series, so they're like, okay, every game is a fucking dogfight, and this could be a 7-game series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the three I'm looking out. Those are the four I'm looking out for. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So, teams to look out for. I bet there'll be one that none of us are seeing right now that'll make a late season push, and they're kind of like Dallas did last year. They made a, like you're saying, trade deadline. Look out for teams to kind of make a move to kind of push into that playoff picture.
I mean, I still don't understand what Minnesota did moving Towns, but no.
Again, it seems like to me salary things again. Salary cap.
And to be fair, when you, I think everyone knew if they were going to trade one of them, it had to be Towns because of what they gave up for Gobert. Like you know, you weren't going to get that same value back for Gobert, so you kind of had to trade Cat. But you know, that's the price you pay for hiring the ex-Nuggets GM and giving him a prerogative of you need to build a team to beat the Nuggets. You beat the Nuggets, then you lose to Dallas in the conference final, and then this salary cap kicks in.
Yeah.
So
that's what you do when you're the champs, though, mate. People start building teams to try and beat you. That's what they do.
Exactly what I gotta say, can we talk like the Knicks? They traded for Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. Like Mikal, obviously a very solid perimeter defender. No one talks about how they're shooting, like how they're trying to, you know, add guys who can play 5 out all the time. It's like, can we let's hold the same energy, please? Let's hold the same energy.
Didn't help the Knicks last night, but yeah.
You didn't have the Knicks on opening night either, but everyone seems to have forgotten about that because it's in New York. I fucking win more than 2 playoff series in a year, then we can talk.
You know, the Knicks fans are always very bold, mate.
My team's got a ring to show for it. My team's got a ring to show for it. Theirs don't. So
there's no comeback to that, bro.
And as much as the Knicks are America's team in basketball, and everyone loves the Knicks, and I all want to go to Madison Square Garden and watch the Knicks play. And oh my god, Stephen A. Smith! Oh my god! Fucking win a championship! Fucking win a championship, and then you know you can chat your shit. We can chat because we won.
If it's like this now, though, mate, what happens if they win one? I mean,
I think we'll all go into hibernation. I think that's the thing. I really hope now this doesn't come back to bite me in the postseason.
Replay this clip, mate, and that'll be it, bro. Yes.
I'll have all the Knicks fans coming from my head, and then every other NBA fan as well. They're like, "Fine, we say these statements at these times, and that's just what social media is. Everyone's looking for a hot take, everyone's looking for a clip. But I'm not looking for that. I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm saying this in December because it doesn't look like the Knicks are a championship team in December. It's not out the possibility they could be a championship team by April. I just don't see it.
They just don't look like one right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. But I think that's all we've discussed. We've got time for, bro. So, is there anything else you want to discuss before we head out, bro? Or
I think I've said everything I want to say. Like, I think I've said some shots at. I've sent some shots at. To be fair, you said this. I only sent one shot at Lakers, so I'm slightly disappointed in that.
I'm going to say, mate, I had way over 3 or 4, but
yeah, but we're not with Philly. I shot at Philly multiple times, so you know, make up for that. Now, in all honesty, I think that's just kind of. That's kind of how I view the Celtics at this point. You know, it's just more of enjoying this season now, enjoying the season, enjoying the journey. You know, like last year, it would be if we lost the game, I'd you end up beating yourself up over it. It's like, oh my god, you'd end up overanalyzing it and overthinking it. And you go to this year, it's like we almost lost to Detroit, we almost lost to Washington, we almost lost to these teams. Like we lost to Indiana for our first loss of the season. And you go like, okay, and it's not great. You want to win every game, but also that Indiana game, we had no right to even take to overtime because we were down 20 plus points. So you end up taking the positive, but we were down 20 plus points. We took them to overtime. We almost fucking won in overtime. You know, it's just one of those ones. Yeah, it's more about just enjoying the season for me. I get to watch Celtics basketball without the pressure of, at this point of the year anyway, I get to watch without the pressure of there's a championship on the line at the end of it. Obviously, it will probably change once we get into March and playoffs start kicking in, and that's where obviously it does count. But my dad always talks to me about it. He will always make a comment if the Celtics lose, Celtics lost all the time. They're I said to him last year, championships are won in June, not in whatever month we're in. Championships are won in June, not in December. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, like I say, it's just more about enjoying the season now. I get to enjoy Tatum and Brown balling out. I get to enjoy everyone playing around them. And as I also mentioned, we don't know how long this team is going to be together for. It could be broken up as early as this upcoming off season. So we're enjoying this team. Hopefully they add banner 19 to the rafters, and then give the new owners, whoever they are, a really big decision to make. And hopefully it's a decision that they keep the group together because they've proven they can do it.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I think it'd be insane to try and break them up right now because you could be in for a very good run for the next 5-6 years, couldn't you?
I guess this is what we'll have to see with the CBA and everything, like the imposing tax penalties. I think currently right now we sit at, for every dollar we are over the tax, it's a $3.75 hit. But it will get worse because then we'll get to where Golden State were, where we're paying the repeater tax, where you've been over it for like 2-3 years in a row. So that's where it will. That's what's really going to kill. Like that, if anything's going to kill the team, that is what it's going to be. It's going to be that repeater tax with this new CBA and like everything, like your draft picks getting frozen out, and but that's a problem for 2-3 years down the line. Like I'm enjoying my Celtics basketball right now.
Enjoy the now, mates. That's it, bro. That's it. So before we head out, Rob, do you want to tell people where they can follow you on the socials, dude?
I'm mainly active on X or Twitter. I mean, I always say I call it Twitter now, just called it X. So yeah, at RobRush02 on X. I don't chat a lot about basketball on there, like on my timeline, but I'll definitely I repost whenever the Celtics do good stuff, and when there's occasionally like some breaking NBA news or Shams drop something that is incredible, like I'll be on there. But yeah, that's my main one. I want to try doing some more basketball stuff, but as you know, it's hard in the UK. Like it's not nowhere near as popular as the other sports we've got over here. So it's difficult to break into. But yeah, my main one is at RobRush02 on Twitter. That's the main one if you want to drop me a follow.
Nice. There's a small bunch of us, Rob, NBA guys in the UK, but we're a passionate bunch, aren't we? I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But, thanks very much for coming on, bro. Pleasure to have you on as always, mate. You're welcome back on anytime, mate. Later on in the season, maybe when it comes to playoff time, you're more than welcome to come back on, mate. It's a pleasure to have you on, dude. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Nice one. So thanks very much, guys. You can watch this on YouTube, also listen to it in podcast form on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep an eye out on the socials, guys, at Shooters Lounge 3 on artist formerly known as Twitter and on Instagram. So thanks very much for watching or for listening, and we'll be back again with a new episode very soon. Thanks very much. Take